We are live. RJ's got a question.
Yeah. What would you recommend when clients are asking the impossible of you? Example, we have to have some trades on site next week. They're behind schedule and want you to make it up.
Yeah, look, last time I checked, we didn't wear the underwear on the outside of our trousers and we don't wear a cape. And so, look, I mean, they can be demanding all they like, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a professional builder. I know what I can do, and I'm going to tell you what I can and what I can't do. And if you can, I want it to rain $100 bills too, but it doesn't do that. So I think what you've got to do, I think in this case, what I would suggest, RJ, wasn't it? What I would suggest, RJ, is to use firmness with courtesy, my friend. Be terribly honest with them, but not brutally honest, and just allow them to figure it out for themselves, mate. But look, it really pains me when I hear about general contractors that have gone out of their way or beyond and tried to make clients, ridiculously happy, and it becomes an impossibility because they've overpromised and they just can't deliver. And you really do. You're actually better off. You're better off, popping their balloon up front and saying, look, I can't do it, but 3 weeks after that, I'm available. And then they cry tears and it is what it is. But I'm telling you, if you make a commitment and you get in there and you don't deliver, they will destroy you. They will kick your ass and you will dread the day that you even continued on a conversation, with them. So that's what I would advise. Firmness with courtesy and just open, honest communication. But always be able to sort of back up your words, right? That's the main thing. You don't want to discredit yourself or make life more difficult. So what else we got, Dom? Who's next? Thanks for the question, RJ.
Mr. Cole, from TikTok.
Okay.
Just started a new civil earthworks company. What's some important advice you can give me?
Well, look, I mean, I've never run an earthworks company. I've dealt with lots of earthworks companies. I think that most businesses at their core are the same. You've got to be winning enough work at the right margins or profit or rates or whatever the case may be, and you've got to make sure you're not spending more money than you're making. That's kind of where it's up to. I think a lot of the time that we just jump in. Now, with what I know about earthworks is that the machinery it costs you a fortune. I don't think many guys would actually pay cash for it because the shit depreciates and then you want to offload it and get a new machine or whatever. So honestly, I think that you've just got to watch your overheads. Once you're committed to a $5,000 lease payment on an excavator, that monster needs to be fed. You got to keep that beast full, and you're busy pulling sticks or driving the excavator, and you're also trying to win work and make everybody happy. I would say dream big, start small, and systemize everything. That's fairly typical. But, just watch your overheads. Don't overtake your ability to produce income. Because this time of the year, especially where we live, diggers don't get a lot of work because the ground's frozen. So depending on where you are, whether you can get work 50 weeks a year or whether or not you're restricted somewhat because of the weather conditions, then you've just got to make a very educated decision around what you do. Next,
we have Harold from TikTok.
Is that comment? Do you just spend every day on TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not really, mate. Thanks for the question, Harold. I actually run a real business. We've got 7 general contractors as part of our organisation here in Canada. We've got over 100 general contractors in the business in 3 countries, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. I've got 3 business partners. I've got 5 staff. I've got 6 kids, and I've been married for 29 years. So I got my hands full. There's lots to do outside of TikTok, but we do get a bit of time to stick our face into TikTok and keep things going. So, yeah, appreciate the observation, Harold, and the question, mate. Cheers. Cheers. It is beer and cheers this afternoon.
Q-Pie. I don't know how to pronounce that, from TikTok.
Okay.
You got any advice for an apprentice? I just started a carpentry apprenticeship.
Yeah, mate, I think what you can do, Q-Pie, is you've just got to focus on, you got to do 2 things for me. You got to focus on the long game, because as an apprentice, Now, I speak from a guy that did an apprenticeship between 1989 and 1993, so that makes me terribly old. But I know this, that you do get the shit kicked out of you a little bit. You know, you're an apprentice. You're always going to be completely disrespected. I wanted to quit as an apprentice more than once, and so you've just got to. And you know what it does? It builds some strength into you. You know, it separates the men from the boys, essentially, as the saying goes. You would just want to make sure that you use the time. It doesn't get any easier for you than what it is right now as an apprentice. You might think that it's, you know, they treat me like shit and I don't get paid much and everything else. But I'm telling you, you get a lot of protection as an apprentice. You're not really worried. You're probably living at home with mum and or dad or whatever. So life doesn't get any easier. It only gets harder from this point onwards. Yeah, I just got a quick comment from our big fella in New Zealand. Welcome, Mr. Peterson. Yeah, he says he wanted to quit. Mum wouldn't let me. LOL. And that's the truth. You know, we think it's the end of the world and it's a friggin', you know, it's a shit draw. But at the end of the day, you look back and you go, oh, to be an apprentice again. So you just got to think about what you're doing today. Not take it too seriously. Nobody expects you to be frigging awesome overnight. Be patient. And I would probably think I was probably one of the worst apprentices out there, but I seem to make it through. So, mate, be patient and dream big. That's what I would say. Stick at it. Don't quit. Even if, like Rion's mum said, don't. If your mum doesn't want to let you quit, listen to her. Just go back to work the next day. She'll be right. Matter of fact, actually, I just remembered I did get fired. I did actually get fired. And the other guy who was an apprentice, he was 2 years ahead of me. He said, look, just give him a couple of days and just come back to work and don't even talk to him. Of course, he's out on other sites and shit, so I didn't see him. Sure enough, I went back to work 2 days later and, the rest is history. I finished my apprenticeship, but I actually did get fired. So there you go. All because he said, if this frame inspection fails, I'm going to fire your ass. If you forget to put those straps in and the inspection fails, I'm going to fire your ass. I forgot to put the straps in. The inspection failed. And he fired my ass. A couple of days later, I came back to work and all was well. Didn't matter. So there you go. Stick at it, mate. What else?
Maz from TikTok.
Maz?
Maz.
Righto, Maz. Thanks for your question.
Just started an electrical company subcontracting to bigger electrical companies. Any advice on margins?
Yeah, look, what I would say, kind of like when I got started over here in Canada, I had to sort of, suck it and see a little bit. But what I would do, Maz, is I would be very conservative. As builders, the hardest thing for us to find is good subcontractors. So what you want to be careful of, what you want to do is you want to start at an entry level and slowly work your way up. Because if you find the right builder that values service and quality over price, then that's the kind of building company that you want to work for. But to establish a reputation, you're going to have to, what I would say, work on a minimal basis. Like work as lean as you can to give yourself the exposure and the time to demonstrate, your services and your quality of operation, and then start playing with those margins in between. So run lean. So here's some mathematics for you. If you're talking about, hey Max, what's the appropriate margin? What I would say to you, Maz, is take what your fixed expenses are. So your own wage, your gas, your insurance, all of the bells and whistles that you need to keep the lights on in the business. I'm not talking about cable and, even tools that you need to do your job. I'm talking about shit, whether you work or not, you're going to get charged for. That's kind of one way of figuring it out. And then what you got to do is multiply it by the percentage margin. So if you mark up your shit by 25%, you've actually got a 20% gross profit margin. If you multiply that on top of your fixed expenses, that will actually tell you what you need to bill for each month. Then that will tell you whether or not you're in the game or out of the game. You might go, oh, that's an easy number. I do that every month, no problem. Or you might look at that number and go, holy shit, I didn't realize I had to bill for that much each month. So like I said, take your fixed expenses, calculate that, figure out what your gross profit margin percentage, not your markup percentage, your profit margin. Understand, folks, markup is the action, margin is the result. I'll say it again. Markup is the action our margin is the result. So whatever you mark up, it's going to create a result, and the result is your profit margin. But the profit margin percentage is the one we want to look at. That's going to help us to figure out, what you need to bill for. And so, Maz, that's what's going to help you figure out what your margins should be, mate. Hopefully that helps.
User from TikTok.
Righto, user.
Just started as a general contractor in Lake Tahoe, in California.
Sweet.
When are overhead/markup charges appropriate?
All the time. When our overhead... Look, dude, anything that runs through our books, right, is going to be subject to markup, okay? And so the margin is the result. So for us, most of the time, you're welcome, Maz. Thanks for chiming in, champ. What we do mostly, what we recommend is either a 41, 43, or 45% markup. If you're marking up by 43%, you're actually taking a 30% profit margin. Okay, I hope you got that question on. Landon's asking, how do I ask questions from TikTok? Mate, go to TikTok, Landon, and type them in, mate. That's how you're going to get them, and my team will catch that. We got it?
Or you can do it on Instagram.
Or you can do it on Instagram. Just type it into Instagram, Landon. If you got a question, just type that sucker in there, and my team will grab that. Oh shit, I lost my train of thought. The question was Lake Tahoe. Right, markups and margins, appropriate on everything. Now, here's why. Because I'm the general contractor, and so I'm responsible for dealing with the client, right? And then basically from that point on, everything as it relates to dealing with sub-trades and vendors and quality control and project scheduling is all on my shoulders. Therefore, I have to be covered fiscally or financially to do the work, to do all of the organization. But I'm just dealing with the client. So I am trading my know-how and my project manage capability and my contacts amongst the sub-trades and, of course, the vendors and the suppliers. And I am putting that all together. So I would say, now, user, we didn't get a name, that everything that goes through me, I need to mark up and apply that percentage to, because I'm busy with my hands organizing that. Now, if I can get technology to help me with that, then mazel tov. But I'm paying for technology. So I provide a service as a general contractor. We need to probably redefine in our minds what we do as general contractors and understand that we can actually make money off, talking with and dealing with sub-trades and suppliers on behalf of our clients. So our clients might have no interest in getting involved, in what we do as builders. They just want their house renovated or built or whatever. And so they're saying, Max, we know you've got the contacts and the expertise and the knowledge and know-how. You go do all that, and we'll pay one person, and we'll put a rope around your neck because you're going to be our guy if there's a freaking problem. And so that's really how it works. So this is why there's a lot of chat on social media about, well, you shouldn't make money on sub-trades. Well, hang on, or on suppliers, or some people do charge markup on materials and others don't, and others charge markup on labor and others don't. So it's super confusing. But if I'm looking after everybody, then I have to get paid for that organization. And here's the thing. People go, well, what do you mark up materials? Well, mate, someone's got to do the quantity takeoff. Somebody's got to do the ordering. Someone's got to make sure it all shows up on time and complete. And then if there's a warranty issue or there's a failure with the product, who's going to handle it? The client's not. I got to. Hope that helps. That was from user, wasn't it?
Yes.
I've been told, folks, I'm going to not talk to my guy on the other side of the camera here. Apparently, I tend to give too longer answers. So he's already throwing up in his mouth at me at the moment. So, I'm going to shorten the answers a little bit just so I don't get my ass handed to me after the show. Okay, so hopefully Landon gets...
yeah, I see his question here.
Sweet, okay.
So
where are we going?
Theo from TikTok.
Theo, thanks for the question, champion.
Any tips for finding skilled laborers right now? We do window and door installs in Northern Ontario.
Right, so skilled laborers. Look, I honestly, this week, here's the thing, right? Clients get sold this, and I'm not taking away from this, so don't get me wrong and don't give me the hate. But, in this country, and of course, Theo just said he's in Ontario, right? So he's on the other side of Canada from us. But this whole Red Seal thing, now, clients hold that in high esteem. They go, oh, he's a Red Seal. But I've seen some work where they might be a red seal carpenter, but they sure as shit are not a red seal ceramic tiler or tile setter, and they shouldn't be doing that shit, but they are, because they rank themselves and they think they're okay. So what I would say is I tend to sort of, I like the idea of having that piece of paper that says you've got qualifications, and I got a couple myself, but really the outworking is actually on the tools and actually doing it. So Theo, what I would recommend, you're after a skilled labourer. You're really going to have to move a lot of dirt to find the gold. You are going to have to hire quickly and fire quickly, because if you're trying to go, well, I'm a really good recruiter, the problem is none of us, like, there's so many freaking liars out there that'll tell you how bloody good they are on their first day in their resume, and then 2 weeks in, you're like, what happened to the guy that I interviewed and that I hired? Because the guy that's working for me today is not the same dude. He's hopeless. And so, I think that, sometimes it's always a moving target. You might go, yep, I finally got a good one. But I'm telling you, once the 90 days goes through, it can shit the bed, because they go, oh, I'm safe now. I don't have to perform. I'm done putting on the performance. They were never really committed to the business. They were only committed to the paycheck. So that would be my advice, is that you got to move a lot of dirt to find the gold, and you hire quickly and fire quickly. The minute someone starts to reduce in performance, give it to them. Just go, look, hey, what you did at the start was awesome, but I'm not seeing that today. What's the problem? Is there something that I'm not doing for you that's actually really influenced your ability to deliver at the same level, or you just got slack? I think firmness with courtesy is totally applicable even in the areas of recruitment, because, guys, you're not a charity. Do not keep people on for any longer. If your intuition is getting pissed at these people because they're not delivering, you're better off without them, even if you've got to go and work 8 days a week, 28 hours a day. I kid you not. Your sanity, for me to jump back on the tools, is way more sanity than standing there or knowing that Muppet is on my building site, wasting my time and money and not really producing. So, but, I'm an old-time sort of gangster carpenter, and it's just like, I haven't got time to dick around with people. I just haven't got the patience. If you deliver, great, awesome. We can go a long way. If you dick me around, I'm done. Like, you're done. I'm done with you. I'll figure something else out. So, yeah, a bit harsh, Theo. But anyway, mate, that's my 2 cents worth, champion. Oh, yeah, he's giving me a bit of love back. He's the owner, and I'm stuck doing everything. Yeah, I know, dude. Mate, I got contacts in Australia and New Zealand. There's a guy on Instagram right now. Rion, chime in, mate. I've got a guy who's in Ontario in Canada who's saying he's a business owner. He does window and door re-and-rees, and he's trying to find good labor, and he's stuck doing everything. Rion, if you're there, mate, I could put you on the phone with 3 or 4 of my guys at least who have either struggled getting guys or continue to struggle to get guys. And yes, I've had one guy this year, he went from 3 or 4, he's back to by himself. He's like, I'm just going to cruise through the winter, and I'm going to see how we go into the new year. Jimmy there, can I read that comment? He's like, I wish I could be as harsh as you. Mate, it's a learn. Like, I was 16 and green, right? So I've grown into it, Jimmy. So, mate, firmness with courtesy. I'm not trying to damage people. I just don't like being bullshitted to. Okay? So if people aren't liking the job, come to me and tell me, and we will just bow out gracefully together, and you can go on with your life and I can go on with mine. But I'm harsh but fair. I have been told that before.
Landon, this is Landon.
Righto, Landon. We got to Landon finally.
Max, I'm 16. I want to be a home builder. I got a lot of money saved up. Should I save or build credit?
Landon, mate, look, I think what I've seen in my short tenure in this country, moving from Australia to Canada, the challenge is going to be your street cred, Landon. Here's what I might say is that what I would say is start with the small jobs. What I need you to do, and anybody who's out there that's done any kind of martial arts, you would have heard this before. Technique first, speed second. Landon, just work on your technique. There's a lot of shit you're going to learn. I can vaguely remember when I was 16. Mate, you do have a lot to learn. And at 16, I don't know how you got the skills to actually, whether you want to go and be a builder now, but who's Diesel Cowboys asking me? Mate, we're in British Columbia, dude. We're in the Okanagan Valley, just north of Kelowna, in a little town called Vernon. If you're in town, we'll drop in, hit me up, we'll have a beer.
Yeah.
So, Landon, mate, yeah, look, I think you've got a shit ton of time. Be patient, dream big, start small, and systemize everything in and around your business so that as you develop a lot of technique within your business, that will actually allow you to build a higher revenue. Because I'm telling you, if you want to build a big business and you want to be a successful GC, you are going to have good people and good systems. So start developing systems, start training your own self around financial management, business development fundamentals, org charts and how you're going to develop that. And then, what sort of systems you're going to have for sales. What are your quoting and estimating systems? What kind of software? How do I understand how to go from a sales in the process to a close? Do I understand the difference between selling and closing? Do I understand how to do proper sales versus doing proper close? So, mate, I don't want to take your dream away from you, but I am telling you, I work with grown-ups, grown-ass men who have trouble getting their head around some of the shit in 4 days of training, bro. So, mate, and stay close to my podcast and Business for Builders. And what are we talking about doing? We're talking about doing a B for B or a Business for Builders VIP group where we might do any of the guys that are starting out young. It could be a hell of a breeding ground for the young general contractors, the young operators. So, to really get amongst it, we'll give maybe some more specific stuff. I don't know what we're going to do, but we will maybe look at developing the old B for B customized coaching as well. G'day, mate. Welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, how are you?
I'm bloody amazing. Thanks for asking.
Bring on.
Mate, what Jimmy was hitting us up with about...
The firing, the harsh.
Oh, yeah, a bit harsh. Yeah, look... I don't want to be an arsehole, but sometimes they make me do it.
Oh, I know, it's freaking hard. I've got super great contracts and great leads, and just finding the guys to stick around with you, and it's like you do everything for these guys.
Yep.
At the end of the day, they just 4 o'clock comes around Friday afternoon, and they're jumping their trucks and leaving all your tools out, and they leave you high and dry, right? But, when it comes for pay time, their hours are there quicker than they show up for work, right?
Yeah. I think, I would say right now amongst the whole, Business for Builders community that's watching on right now, everyone's doing the old head nod going, yeah, me too, freaking assholes. So, it's definitely not uncommon. It's very much humanity. And I think it's just a maturity thing because, maybe I did that when I was, young as well. Maybe that was my attitude. I was just there for a paycheck and couldn't wait for the weekend. So, mate, I think it just comes down to trying to identify the guys that actually are really committed to their own, long-term view in the industry and just trying to get – there's a lot of luck involved, Jimmy. I honestly don't believe that we can – attract exactly the right person, all the time.
Oh, no, for sure, yeah. And I've always said, sometimes, I don't know if this is the wrong way of thinking, but I've always said sometimes I feel you have to let some things go because you're never going to find the exact perfect person that you want, right? So I tend to kind of let things go as long as it don't cost you money or make you look bad, right?
Yeah.
With a customer, because all of our work is referral and all word of mouth.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing, for me doing what we're doing here with Smith & Sons, we're putting a lot of trust in our frontline operators and they don't get it right all the time and then I end up with phone calls. So, I mean, I'm not immune from the challenges that you're facing because we're all dealing with human beings. And again, they tell us how good they are and then when it comes to the crunch, they might have made an error or dropped the ball, and which is not a problem, but maybe their recovery method, how they, go about negotiating with the clients, it can be challenging. So if you're all relying on word of mouth, your reputation protection is at the top of your list, which is why you need good guys to do it. So, super challenging, man.
Sorry?
Have you got what else? Have you got any questions for us, Jimmy? Have you got anything else on your mind that we might be able to help you with?
I mean, other than that, that was just it. I just kind of. That's my only thing. It's paperwork and stuff is always just one of the things because I am on the tools as well. And but other than that, that's the only thing I just have a hard time with. Like, and I've heard it before is hire quick and fire faster, right? And you just sometimes I just feel I have too much of a big heart that you can't feel bad for these guys, right? And it's just like But other than that, that's it.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. I just it's hard for me too. You sort of start to distrust humanity, and you heard it all before and that sort of stuff. But I think if you give up on human nature, then we're basically stuck on the tools for the rest of our lives. So, at some point, I think you've just got to remain. We always talk about having an above the line thought process versus a below the line. So I think we've got to maintain optimism and positivity and those sorts of things, even though we're getting kicked in the ass, by the labor marketplace, if you like. If we don't quit, we'll win. That's maybe the thing that just keeps us hanging in there. And then, I do believe that you attract who you are. And so I don't know that it's a perfect science, but I think that the right person who, gets into business with you or starts working for you, because I have seen where there has been, unions where, guys have come into the Smith & Sons organisation as project managers and they've done, an extremely long tenure. And I've seen operators come into the Smith & Sons organisation as builders and they haven't lasted very long. And yet I know for a fact there's guys still in the Smith & Sons organisation that were there when I was there, and that's over 10 years ago. So, go figure, man. It's like it is kind of what you make it, as long as you're not, being overly generous, but certainly we don't want to cut all of humanity off at the kneecaps either.
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. I'm the same way. Like the one guy that works for me, he gets tons of hours, gets paid very, very well, I feel, for what he brings to the table. And, it doesn't matter to me, but I pay him $27 an hour, and, pretty much he uses all of my tools and my equipment and stuff. And, the other day, his brakes went on his truck. So I pretty much paid for the brakes to get done because, the odd time he does use his truck, and I do give him fuel money and kilometer money. But I'm like, you know what? Use your truck. I'll take care of it. Let me get the brakes for you, right? And then you need the guy Friday afternoon just for an extra hour or two. He's like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
All right, Jimmy. Anyways, hey, mate, which neck of the woods? Where you from?
I'm in Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so it'd be cold as over there, colder than here probably.
It is. Yeah, actually, it hasn't been too bad the last couple of days. We didn't get that storm, but it's not bad right now. And but like you said, I think I'm gonna be kind of streamlined for the winter and maybe try another couple guys out and maybe change my pricing aspect as well, because I think I might be a little bit low on the pricing because you're always worried you want to get the job, but you don't want to lose money either, right?
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right, Jimmy. Well, thanks for calling in, mate. We appreciate your contribution. I'm sure there's a bunch of head nodding going on. Matter of fact, I should put out a survey. Who's all going through the same shit as Jimmy? Hands up, and probably the whole room would be there. So, but yeah,
awesome.
just hang in there, Jimmy, and keep an eye on the podcast and the YouTube channel, mate. And of course, enjoy the time you spend with us at the Q&A. We really enjoy the engagement and the interaction with you guys.
Will do. Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time and doing it. Helps out.
Awesome. Thanks, Jimmy. Have a good weekend, champ.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, man. Bye-bye. What else we got?
Hados from
Hados.
IG.
Hados from where?
IG.
Okay.
What is the best advice you have ever received?
Ooh, I reckon I've got a few pieces of advice. I'm not maybe in my early stages. But here's one. Knowledge is not hard to carry around. And, I've talked about, steel with your eyes and ears, So we sit here and we talk about all kinds of stuff. And honestly, there's nothing new under the sun. What we do at Smith & Sons, probably the three things that we do is we obviously have, a pretty strong brand. It's an international brand. We have the ability to, generate leads. We have a fairly decent marketing approach. And we have a fairly distinct sales process. Those are the three things. But that's nothing mysterious. It's not like, wow, I've never heard that before. But it's really the orchestration, of those systems to make it work. That's really what we do. We just bring it together. So, that would be. Knowledge is not hard to carry around. So go and steal with your eyes and ears. Rip off. Let's go.
User from TikTok.
Righto, user.
He said, number question. Finnish carpenters my area make $45 an hour average. What could be the charge per hour on time and materials?
Okay, so
T/M.
Time and materials. I'm assuming that he's saying he's charging hourly rate at $45 an hour, and that includes materials.
No, he says the average in his area is $45 an hour. So, and he asked what could be the charge per hour on time and materials.
Okay, so look, if you're going to do time and materials, he said subcontractor as well.
No.
Finished. Oh, he said finished carpentry. Right. So
yeah.
Finished carpentry. If you're going to do time and materials, then let's say you're working for a homeowner, and his name's User because we don't have a name, right? Okay, so if you're doing time and materials, he's saying if he charges on time and materials, that sounds like cost plus.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. If you're a finished carpenter, I've hung a few doors in my time, so I kind of know. You should be able to provide a fixed price quotation for the scope of work. Make sure you've got a services agreement. Make sure you've got a change order process in case they change their mind or they add something to it. But this whole time and materials thing, if you go and do time and materials, you know what your hourly rate is. And honest to God, I don't care what you charge on your materials and labor because the client's going to see it and they're going to tell you straight out the gate it's too much. And so, the fact you're just doing finishing carpentry, when I do a big reno or whatever, there's lots. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of line items. And so, for us to put a markup on all of that, it's proprietary information. People say this all the time because over here in Canada, all the clients, the homeowners are apparently in love with this whole cost plus thing. And there were some videos went out this week on cost plus and fixed price, and I've been jamming with some guys on TikTok. But, honest to God, you really should focus on what is important to the client versus what's easier for you, because what's easier for you actually costs you money. They want fixed price because they want peace of mind and security. They don't want to be lying in bed at night going, wow, we've already spent $100,000 and the whole job was only supposed to cost $125,000 and we're only halfway through it. How much is this going to cost? So they want security. So if you're going to give them security, then actually you can charge them a premium for providing not only construction services, but a level of security as it relates to the cost of the project, the time it's going to take, and of course, what's included, i.e. the specifications. So I think, that video that we put out on Cost Plus, that's kind of going pretty crazy.
Pretty wraps it up.
So
summarizes that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of got off track. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, hope that helps. So, I would say look at doing fixed price, or, you might start at 12 or 15%. What was his name? It was User. Doing the finishing carpentry. Yeah.
Larvin.
Right.
Yeah, from TikTok. Talking, expanding, building company, order of staff to be hired, example, bookkeeper, foreman, etc.
I would kind of need to know what his business is looking like right now, because everything that he said, I'd be going, yeah, of course you do. Absolutely. I mean, if you're a $5 million business, you're going to need a superintendent. You're going to need an office nanny. You're going to need a project consultant who does sales, and all those people report back to you. So, I think it is, look, I've seen it happen a couple of different ways, but I actually subscribe to a project consultant who operates as an office nanny and maybe liaises a lot with clients, in the sales process, but also keeps one eye on the financial metrics, i.e. what do we need to be selling every month and what do we need to be claiming every month? They're your two, big metrics. And also what's our fixed expenses, and then, what is our break-even point? They're kind of some basic metrics. That's why I kind of subscribe to that, project consultant and maybe a bookkeeper, but you've got to look at every time. Okay, so whatever you're going to do, let's say it's you and you're going to do the project management thing and he's going to cost you $8,000 a month. You've got to add that onto your fixed expenses, and you really should have 3 months worth of bank before you go there, because if he doesn't work out and you've only got, a little bit of cash at bank, you're going to basically shoot yourself in the foot financially. And then you're going to be back to the start doing all of the work, not doing much sales because you've got to make sure your clients are happy. So developing the business using an org chart at some point. G'day, Big Red, just joined us on TikTok. I won't disclose who that is, but it's good that he's tagging along. I think that when you're starting to talk about biz dev, everyone is different. So I've seen guys that have gone for $500,000 to close to $2 million in revenue in 12 months. And I'm telling you, them as a human, right, could not keep up. And that's the problem. So in some of the cases, I've said to guys, look, once you hit $1 million, you're going to tap out. That's it. And you're only going to do 1.5 next year at the most, because the human aspect of the business is what you've got to pay attention to. It's not just who should I hire, all of that kind of shit, leases on office spaces, equipment, even recruiting guys, even winning jobs. The problem is if it's not sustainable, you will burn out, you will fatigue. So always maintain one eye on your own mental well-being. Understand when you're getting emotionally out of control, because if you do that, you have a hard time selling going forward. So that's my 7-minute answer, Dom. Cheers, big ears. Mm-hmm. Pretty standard, right? Yeah.
It's Zonny.
Hey, Zonny.
From TikTok.
Ooh,
How do I calculate labor plus materials plus profit for a bid on a project?
You use a project management software, Zonny. And if I ask what he uses or she uses right now, then I would hazard a guess that there may not be any being used, maybe an Excel spreadsheet at best. But look, it really, to calculate all that, if you were to go and input all that information into a spreadsheet, Excel, I don't have to do that. I can literally type the client into our BuildExact software and I can go straight to creating an estimate. And I've already built in my markups and my margins. Some cases we've already built rates into it. It's a very organized way of building all the categories and then adding line items to those categories. And I do that all in order of build process. So, if you're asking that question, hopefully you're not running a company at the moment, because there might be some vulnerability there if you're not estimating correctly or accurately. And then you've got to make sure that software gives me the ability to actually back costs. So when I build an estimate for a quote, I can then, that I establish what the budget for that project is with all of the line items built into it. So when I go out and I go building, then what I do is I go, all right, how much did I spend on lumber? And I compare it to my budget. So I'm comparing my actual spend to my budget. And did I spend more or did I spend less, or did I spend the right amount? That's going to take some serious development. And if you're going to run multiple projects, you need a piece of software that's going to give you leverage, because what you need to buy back is essentially time. And tools give you leverage, and leverage really buys you time. So it's more than just numbers. What should I add on? But if you're doing renos, like I said, we're marking up as high as 45%. But your messaging and your social media and your website better be slick, because clients just won't see the value, especially if you're not demonstrating value like we do. That is a bit of an art form. So next question. That was only a 3.5-minute answer, Dom.
That's good.
Sweet.
Catalpa, carpentry.
Yep.
From IG.
Yes.
Preference on systems like Coconstruct, joist, etc. for client management.
Yeah, look, that's, I back in the day, I had used Coconstruct, and I think that client portal is pretty cool. You may or may not know, you couldn't go to Coconstruct website right now and buy a subscription. You'll get redirected straight to Buildertrend. Buildertrend did buy out Coconstruct. But BuildExact has also a client portal. And so, that is the same thing. You can upload documents. You can have chit-chat backwards and forwards. I do like that, because when you start doing emails, like emails can get terribly messy. Then you've got to do Google Files perhaps, which is okay. I use Google File all the time. And then, it's just a matter of keeping track. I think if you're running a simple and not very complicated client-oriented business, you may not need to go too deep with software. But I think when you're getting inquiry in at the level that, the guys in our, operation are, you need to have a really, a half-decent CRM. So, yep, the email thing will kill you totally. So, look, I don't know the size of your business, so you're gonna have to. I know this. BuildExact would normally cost close to $300 Canadian, I think, which has the project management tool, which has the client portal, and has the graphic takeoff capability. So, it's got a few bells and whistles, but it's freaking 300 Canadian a month. So, if you're only doing decks and fences, you might just go, shit. Oh, well, dude, seriously. So, Catalpa, I hope I'm saying that right, mate. Sorry if I'm not. If you're doing a couple of $1 million a year, you are killing it. Tell me what you are using for software, man. Let's go. Like, are you using a software of any sort? I mean, you want to have a chat about this, Mr. Catalpa Carpentry, country code number 1, 250 is the area code. 2418866. That's the number. Who have I got?
Mac in Catalpa.
Nice. So we did say it right.
Yeah, right.
You sure did.
What's your first name again?
My name's Mac.
Okay, Mac. Sweet as. All right, mate. Let's dude, you're a rock star because you're killing it. And what are you using for software? Nothing. So what are you using?
I was in Coconstruct for a little bit, but I found it to be so overly complicated that the learning curve was worse than just using nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just a management tool. That's what it is. But if you're finding that complicated, then BuildExact is probably going to be up the same alley. How long have you been doing it? How long have you been, what sort of work are you doing as a carpentry company to do $2 million worth a year? What's your bread and butter?
Second homes, custom construction, 100% design build.
Yeah. Okay, so you're up there. And you are doing that all off like a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
It's just so time consuming. I need to get my life back.
So here's a question for you, Mac. Is the next piece of software going to be just as difficult? So you've got it's the two pains. It's like the pain of change versus the pain of staying the same. So if you're like, bloody software's too hard, well, then I guess you're stuck with the pain of sort of staying the same and using spreadsheets. Mate, I might, look, you're the only guy that can call it, but I would encourage you to go and check out buildexact.ca. Now, obviously, those guys are in North America because of us. Which neck of the woods are you from, Mac?
New Hampshire.
That's right. I said that straight out the gate, didn't I? Yeah, that'll be BuildExact without the E. So it's BuildExact.com. Go and get a 14-day trial. The business development manager I know, he's out of Vancouver. Let them know that Mac's from Smith & Sons, and they might even hook you up with a few months, for a discount or something like that. But I'm not saying that, if you think Coconstruct is complicated, there's no reason why I think that BuildExact is any less complicated, bro. So, I don't
think it's the complexity that's necessarily the problem, but in order to spend the time to print something that complicated, it really has to be pretty ideally suited.
Yeah.
I didn't see that in Coconstruct.
Yeah, I would say BuildExact is like a spreadsheet on steroids, and it the UI is pretty good, or the interface between the sheets and the pages and stuff is good, but nonetheless, there's you're still going to have a similar, which rabbit hole do I go down, and understanding the schematic of the software in your head is going to take some time. Have you got a goal, Mac, to go beyond a couple of million a year? Like, you want to grow that business, or you kind of going, dude, I can't handle more than 2 million. I'm not doing that. Or are you going to scale down, or what do you think you'll do in the next sort of 12, 18 months?
No reason to scale up or down. I got a really good crew. I've got, we operate lean for what we do, but we all get it done. We all live happy lives, and I don't really want to mess with it.
Yeah.
Don't need to.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I just obviously the thing is, you do those sorts of numbers, got good crews. It's just now a question of what's your quality of life like. And, I'm assuming you're making a good GP or a good profit, but it's like, you've got to work those, 7 or 8 days a week, 24 hours a day type thing to keep it stood up. Is that sustainable, do you think, going long term?
No, and I think kind of one of your points earlier was that you got to get that back in time. And the time, in my perspective, that I see is really going to be in client management, and the least amount of time that I have to spend typing emails. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, the other options you can do, I mean, I use for, because obviously we're in about talking to general contractors about joining forces with Smithies as franchised operators under the Smith & Sons banner. And I use a piece of software called Pipedrive, but it's a CRM. But the other thing that I had one of my guys talk to me about was a piece of software called Monday.com. And, that may or may not be the answer to your question as well. So, which is not, I wouldn't say that's construction related, although you can manipulate it to do that. So it just, I think you've just got to suck it and see, Mac. It's just too, I can make recommendations until I'm blue in the face. You just got to find out what suits you, what you've got time to learn, essentially, what it comes down to.
All right. Second part of my question, I guess, is from your perspective, are you more tailored to doing a higher volume at a lower margin, or are you doing a higher percentage of a fewer amount of jobs at higher margin, which ultimately mathematically makes no difference at the end of the day, but just opinion perspective.
Yeah, look, I think, good question. I think that where we're situated, we as a brand want to be a boutique general contractor that specializes in remodels and renovations. I think what we do is we qualify fairly hard. We have a very specific, what we call a preferred client profile. So I think by default, or using that system that I just alluded to, what we're looking for is clients that value the way we do business and our service, and rather than trying to do one or the other. In other words, I would just, because what I'm not saying is that when we do qualify hard and we have a specific niche as far as remodeling, and where we have a specific preferred client profile, what that does is it puts back pressure on our marketing arm, because what you're going to do is you've got to, for that to work, which is a cute idea, but for that to work, you've got to have a lot of leads to what we call top of funnel. So, if I've got let's say if I get 100 leads, 50% of that will just get kicked to the curb straight away. They literally will be time wasters, tire kickers, right? So,
right, you're only selling like 8 to 12%, right?
Yeah, so we would like to think that we're selling between 20 and 25% of our gross lead numbers, but looking at the numbers, yeah, we're probably 12 to 15%. So there's a little bit of an adjustment, and it could have something to do with, inflation and, new home percentage, or, money going up. So, or interest rates going up. So we've got to be sort of mindful that our conversion rates are not there, which means then we've got to put more work into, getting that inquiry top of funnel, because, we are having less success, let's say, on conversion. So my answer to you would be in that vein is to focus on your preferred client profile, what your niche is, let's say where you pick up your most profitable jobs, not your most amount of jobs. Because I've heard it before, like, we do quality, not quantity. And then some guys go, well, I do quantity and I make a little bit of markup, but I do a shit ton of work, and so I make it work. Like, at the end of the day, you do you. But for me, we've sort of, we've identified a bit of a, a track that we like to use to get our way through. And that's sort of what we focus on as a, a cohesive group. Because obviously, like for you, Mac, you're having to do it all. My general contractors, they do some local area marketing. So they're talking to local football teams and hockey teams and, whatever the case might be about sponsorship. And they go and then, work on their sphere as far as realtors and engineers and architects and that sort of thing to get inquiry. But sort of beyond that, they rely on the digital side of things. So we are working together to make sure that we always have the phone ringing, and then that gives us a little bit of creative license to discard the leads that, maybe they don't qualify, they're not suitable for how, the guys want to roll. So again, it's very fluid, Mac. It's never a case of, well, it's that predictable. The ball, it's like, I've done that video this week, or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, where I talked about you've either got a shit ton of work on and not enough guys, or too many guys and not enough work to keep them busy. It's very uncommon, and you might relate to this, about running dead set down the middle, where you've got perfect amount of work, perfect number of guys, on the team at that time. So it's always, the struggle's real. It's always a juggle. So hope that helps, Mac.
I do a lot of that qualifying as well, but remodeling can be a bit more tough in that you're always sitting on the cusp of your last bang-up job.
That's right. Yeah, for sure, man. And are you just doing word of mouth, or you've got some other advertising going, like you do some digital stuff, or not really?
Mostly word of mouth. The problem that I have is that where I'm marketing second homes, I'm not targeting a local audience. I'm targeting a lot of New York, Connecticut, type Massachusetts type money.
Yep.
And it's kind of a crowd to reach because I can't speak to them directly.
Got it. Yeah. Because New Hampshire should be a little ways out of town from there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a lot of second homes, though.
Oh, gotcha. Yep, sure. Yeah, man. Well, look, all right, I appreciate you giving me a call, and just stay close. I'd love to keep in touch with you and help out any way I can.
All right, thanks, Mac.
Good on you, Mac. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Let's go. Another question. That's a good idea. I don't know why I was doing left.
Sid from TikTok.
Righto, Sid from TikTok.
I'm in my first year of uni studying to become a CM in Sydney. What tips do you have for me?
Well, first of all, you're obviously going to get an organised qualification. I mean, I've known most of the construction managers that I know kind of grew up in the business. They didn't do, some sort of university to get that position. But I think in the commercial sector, I think it would be much better to have some sort of credential that is going to give you the best chance. They're looking for those sorts. But I think just being patient. If you're going in there to get the education. There's a part that, you can serendipitous nature of this industry. I look back on my, 33, 34 year career, and you couldn't have predicted how things sort of turn out. So I think there's a balance of, getting hands on and trying to make it happen. And then the flip side is just do well with what's in your hands at the time and allow, time to take its course. So, I think, if you were talking, obviously the show's geared around, general contractors or subcontractors and their businesses. If you said to me, Max, I'm going to go get my construction manager credentials, I'm going to go and do 5 years with a commercial builder. Did he say he was in Sydney?
Yes.
Okay, so we'd probably know of Hutchinson's Builders. There's a couple of other big commercials that might want him. There's probably a couple other big residentials like Simmons Homes might want a construction manager that's got some official credentials. Then you might be entrepreneurial enough to go, right, I've done an orthodox, education program. I've worked, in amongst a building company for 5 years. I'm tired of, sitting in that cubicle or whatever. I want to branch out and I want to go and do my own thing. That's where, someone like me might be able to help you. So until I had, a little bit more context around, what maybe your 5 year to 10 year plan is, then you could sort of start to figure out what might be the best route or some things to consider. So again, folks, you feel free to reach out and hit me up at max@businessforbuilders.ca or go to the Business for Builders website, go to the contact form, ends up in my inbox as well. So, hope that helps, man. So, I would head down, ass up, get some good marks in uni, get your head around it. And then maybe the flip side you could do is start figuring out, try and maybe catch up with local builders in your area and just shooting the shit about, the building game as it is in your area, just depending on what your outcome or your goal is that you're chasing down. So next question.
Jamie from TikTok. I just got my General B license in Los Angeles. What software do we use to give bids?
So I was just talking to Mac about this, and who was I chatting with? I was chatting with Mac about this from New Hampshire. Buildexact.com. So job management software. That's what we use. I've used QuickBooks. I get Buildertrend knocking my door down all the time, wanting to do a demo, but they just don't have the technical aspects that we need as a franchisor to be able to sort of talk to our portal. BuildExact is what we use. There's over 100 GCs in 3 countries that do use that. So what episode do I talk about that, Dom? Have we got that?
BuildExact?
Yeah, BuildExact. Is that episode
75?
Quickly stir that up for me. So I'm gonna refer you to our Business for Builders podcast or YouTube channel. It's episode 75, and that's where I talk about BuildExact and how we utilize the software. That should be a bit of help. So,
Angelo from TikTok.
Hey, Angelo, thanks for the question.
I'm trying to figure out how to get leads. Where do I start? I am a tile setter / remodeling.
Okay, so I'm going to assume, and what was his name?
Angelo.
I'm going to assume that you're dealing with homeowners. So to get leads, if you're a tile setter, I mean, if you're just a tile setter, you might struggle a little bit. But if you are going to move into overseeing renovations, hopefully you've got the appropriate skill and you don't end up on Mike Holmes or bloody some HGTV horror story show. I would definitely subscribe. As a one-man band, middlemen like, Trusted Pros, Angie's List, Houzz, Houzz, they're not a bad way to get started, get some leads. You can put nice displays, particularly on Houzz. That's a fairly boutique kind of brand. People might, they're obviously very good at generating interest in what they do. There's a lot of nice things that go into that website. It is not cheap. It was costing me about $850 a month. So that is a little bit prohibitive. And that was for, I think, 2 search terms in 2 different cities, which I found to be overpriced, which is why I went, I'm done paying you guys. So we sit out there as Smith & Sons. So, look, that's one option. The other thing you could do, if you're building a local business, get amongst the local clubs, go to your Chamber of Commerce, really start networking in amongst the realtors and, any architects or interior designers or who else do we use? Interior designers, architects, engineers. They might be able to make references or give you referrals. G'day, Hunter. Good to see you again, champion. He was our man last week's show who called us. So, look, I think you've got to be creative. Success in this business, one of the variables of success is your ability to be creative. Self-awareness is another one. You've just got to make sure that, you're not sitting on your ass going, why doesn't it come to me? I see it all the time and it makes me freaking throw up. Get off your ass and go and sell your services to the marketplace. Now, you can do that digitally, fine, but you can pound the pavement, press the flesh. I talk to my guys all the time. We do digital, but your boots on the ground. Go and do some local area marketing. Go and build that sphere of influence. Go and build that network. Go and shake hands. Go and sell your services to the, all the realtors, in a 20-kilometer radius. Get creative, guys. So, yeah, it's not easy, but it's not impossible. You can do it. Hope that helps. Boom. 5 minutes.
JD Property Enhancement.
G'day, JD Property. Yep.
How difficult is it to set up software, and what would it cost for something like that? And he's referring to Build Exact. Yeah,
look, it's not difficult to set up. It's super easy to get into. I think every time we start a new guy, which we did 3 weeks ago, I look at this blank slate, that is Build Exact, and you just know that the first 90 days are traumatic because it's not a complicated software once you get your head around it, but you've got to do a lot of time in the saddle to really understand the software and the ins and outs of it. And that definitely is, that takes time. I don't think it's hard. Guys, if you're general contractors, you're carpenters or your tradespeople, you know what hard work is. Learning a new software is not hard. Learning a new software is a piss off. That's what all that is. It's just mentally challenging. But you've got to go and you basically what you're trying to do is educate yourself on the fly while you're making money. We just talked to a fellow who's in, university. I mean, I don't know how much he'd be working, freaking doing after hours 7-Eleven work. I don't know how he's paying his way through that. But for us as builders, we can go out there and be actually working, making money. And okay, between the hours of, 10 p.m. and midnight, we've got to sit down for 2 hours and devote ourselves to learning a piece of software. So, I think it's just trial and error. Understand the basic schematic of what you're trying to do. You're trying to do an estimate. You might want to use the graphic takeoff. You might want to use the bill of quantities that's associated with the graphic takeoff. You then want to go and build an estimate. So you need to not just have the software, but you need to have an educated understanding on how to do that. Now, all I've done in my time is I've spent a lot of time doing it, but I did do a basics and estimating course, and that definitely opened my eyes up. I've still got those textbooks right now. Obviously, that information might be slightly antiquated. However, the process is the same. I build the estimate in accordance with the way I would actually do the job. And so those sorts of things. Then you've got to understand, well, okay, then I've got to convert it to a job. So I need a cover letter. Am I going to show them all of the categories, or am I just going to show them the specifications? How do I develop a selection sheet out of that estimate? And then once I win the job, how do I convert it to a job? What is is there a change order process? Yes. Is there work orders to keep tabs on my guys? Yes. Is there purchase orders to make sure that my subcontractors and my vendors and my suppliers don't go and charge me any extra and it's as per their quote? Yes. Like all of these kinds of things. Do I have deficiency lists, templates ready to go for my guys? Yes. Do I have certificates of completion for clients to sign once we've got those deficiencies corrected and I get final payment? Yes, we do. So then my warranty starts from that certificate of completion. That's why we do it. So when there is substantial completion, we get final payment, certificate of completion. That draws a line in the sand. Boom. Now warranty period kicks on. So this is really thinking. And I guess, what I've just rattled off, people might be sitting there going, holy shit, there's a lot of shit that I don't know and I don't do. And this is why, a lot of you guys and gals may end up in strife, is because you don't have a big understanding. So that was the other thing we're going to do, Dom, is this under the hood thing, which I just right then, like if I was to map that out on the whiteboard, that would make more sense than me just doing this, because guys and gals could actually go, right, I can see the bull.
We'll make a note. We can make it under the hood session.
Under the hood session that was kind of Build Exact, wasn't it? So Here we go, folks. We're always we're building on the fly. We are literally building the aeroplane as we go down the runway. So hopefully we can get some wings on it. Understood BX. Under the hood. I just wrote understood. Okay, let's go. Next question.
Oh, shit.
What?
Bavik? From TikTok. How do you deal with clients that don't pay? Big stick.
Oh, no. Yeah, that'd be funny. Sure, gangster style. No, look, the problem is, the reason is, let's back up. Let's be honest. He's asked me that question, what do you do with clients that don't pay? Dude, I would say this first. If I was going to mediate or help you with that dispute, I would want to know, honestly, why are they angry and why are they pissed and why are they withholding payment? Most clients just want the job finished. Now, if you've got to the substantial completion stage and you're finished, then, and you're not getting paid, well, you've got yourself just a legal issue. It's like, okay, there was the quote, there was the contract, here's the job finished, here's the final invoice, and now you're just not paying because you've run out of money. Okay, that's a legitimate problem. But if you're midway through the project or 3K or they're balking at the second to last payment in your project schedule or whatever the case may be, or you're 3/4 finished and now they're not paying, odds on is, if you've done nothing that's insulted them or offended them or you haven't pissed them off, they probably run out of money. Back in the day, I got told when I was doing, I think basics and estimating is when I was doing it, they actually said, you have the right as a general contractor to ask for, get this, to ask for the proof of ability to pay. Okay? Now, I never really observed that protocol until such time as I won a job for 1.1 million. And I'm like, Grace Tang, I would really like to see your proof of ability to be able to pay me to do this job, because if you don't pay, I'm screwed. For real. And she did, and she mapped it out, and she said, I've got $250,000 cash, I've got to use that up, and then the balance will come from the financial institution that have authorized the loan on this commercial project, and you will have to have one of their representatives to come out at the progress payment schedules, get it inspected, and they will cut you a check. And they did. And so, I think that's why there's more to it than just, what do you do with arsehole clients? Well, if you've got to the end and it hasn't been paid for, it's legal. You lawyer up, right? Debt collectors definitely are probably cheaper than lawyers if you've got an account with those guys. But I had that, never had to execute off the back of it as a builder. So there's probably more to that story. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, folks.
Enzo from TikTok. I have a degree in construction management. I want to get into project management. What's the best junior job I can get into?
Enzo, couldn't tell you, mate. I grew up in residential. I grew up in residential construction since I was 16, and everything was basically learning on the fly. So to go from a construction manager to a project manager, mate, I actually couldn't give you the direction on that. I'm always looking for good humans. So this is why it's a bit of a 50-50 thing. You get the credential. The advice is just to, what you've got to do. Too many guys and girls go hardcore at the dough. They forget about the long term because they need the money. And I respect that. That's fine. But what you're trying to do, what I see, relationships is how I guess I've developed business. But I've developed relationships first, and then business flows, and then, of course, the money flows. And so, what I would focus on is, if you're young, is to get the experience. I think, doing a few laps and really understanding the lay of the land. And everywhere you go, where was I last night? Everywhere you go, you get the opportunity to meet someone, and you don't know the impact that they're going to have. Sometimes, it doesn't mean anything, but, oh, shit, that reminds me. Here you go. Here's what happened. I goes to a blues jam night the other night, and a guy meets me there, and he actually come to look at a franchise 18 months ago, and he sent me a lead the other night, which this doesn't happen very often because that's just not what happens. I'm not out there, fleecing people for leads. But he sent me leads and photos on my text message, and I didn't give them to my admin to put into the system. Boing. But what I'm saying is, you can build a lot of my, and I don't say this as a preferred way of doing it, but I've done a lot of business at the pubs. There's people that I've been introduced to through other people, and they've ended up being some work short term, and then they, sometimes it's long term. So if you're going from a construction manager or project manager, you're there to serve. Serve. I'm not saying you've got to be a slave. I'm just saying you've got to have the servant attitude. For me, I hold the highest, rank in the land for Smith & Sons, but I've got to serve my staff and my team. I've got to serve my franchisees. I've got to serve their clients. I've got to serve my business partners. Like, dude, I'm telling you, it's not what it's cracked up to be. And I think if you're there and you're a good team player and you're personable and you're responsible and you don't mind being accountable to superiors, but you also know how to lead, so you understand the power of good leadership, you're a team player, you're teachable, you're coachable. Look, they're all good qualities that I'm looking for in general contractors to come and join forces with Smithies. Because, wood ducks and douchebags are freaking everywhere, mate. They're like arseholes. So they're everywhere. That's all I can give you, mate. So I can't give you anything specific, but I hope you can pick up on the rough vibe in my 7-minute answer. Dom, you're never going to get me away from that, dude. I can't.
We got to work on that.
Okay. I've been told I got to work on my shortening the questions aspect of my biz. Okay.
User from TikTok.
Okay, user.
Aussie project manager here. Why are cost surveyors getting their tender estimates so far out?
You know what? This is my 2 bobs worth, but this is what I went to. Because they've never built shit in their frigging whole life. That's why. Because they go into a bid and they've been trained out of a textbook. And now they're actually in real life trying to apply said textbook practices. And I don't want to burn the textbook thing down. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that you're telling me as a project manager that the guys doing the estimates, hopefully I've got that right because I'm going off a bit of a rant, but you're telling me that these educated folks are cocking up the estimates and the bill of quantities and everything that you need to execute, and you're busy cleaning up their mess. I think I've got that right. And I would say that it's because they actually don't have a realistic understanding as to what happens on a building site and the challenges that you face. Just in the wastage percentages in different aspects of material supply, I don't know exactly what that is, but yeah, guys, that would be my guess. And that's purely just my 2 bobs worth. That's coming. It's worth what you just paid for it. Hope that helps. That'd be why.
OG Johnny Bobson.
OG Johnny Bobson.
TikTok.
Welcome.
How does your sales team gather all the information for a remodel so that you can estimate accurately?
Okay, good question. Love it. So what we do is, everything is very segmented for a reason, right? We don't just blend everything this together and go, it's sales, right? So everything is very technical all the way from when we first receive the inquiry. Now, more often than not, it'll come in via the contact form from the website, or it'll be a phone call sometimes. And we urge our guys and gals who are operators with Smithies to call that number as quickly when they get it on WhatsApp. And that's how we distribute the information as it relates to the scope and also all the contact details, is get on the blower and talk to the clients ASAP, because it's all about touch points and it's all about building rapport. And we know that they don't trust us, no matter how good you look or how good that you smell. The wall of distrust is up here. What we're trying to do is break down that wall of distrust. So it's very segmented. So we firstly on the phone, we want to qualify on the phone. We want to just talk to them a little bit about their project, 3 to 5 minutes maximum. I'm there to get a bit of an overview, understand who the client is, what's their address, and maybe I might even talk about budget a little bit, but maybe not necessarily. If I'm trying to save time because I'm busy with a lot of other clients, I might actually get to budget on the phone. But when we've got someone who we believe is actually in the right ballpark, so it's the type of work that we want, it's in the price range that we have discussed with the client, and we think the chemistry between us and the clients has got some legs, what we're going to do is we're going to promote to the clients what we call a quantity takeoff service. Now, essentially, it's for the design and planning part, whereby we work out what the design is, and then we work out what the price is off the back of getting quotes from our suppliers and our subcontractors. Now, we do charge for that, but inside of that process, so this is way before construction starts, way before contract, we actually offer the clients up a selection sheet. Now, that selection sheet is developed inside of our estimating software, and then we modify that, and then we give it to the clients and go, right, here's all of the things with aesthetic value that only you can choose. Fill your boots. Either I can email it to you and then you can email me back the data, or you can literally get on your phone or get on your computer and detail exactly what make, model, style, color, type of whatever that we're asking for. So we might say kitchen sink, kitchen tap set, countertop, what does it look like? What material is it made of? What type of backsplash tiles? What type of cupboard door handles do you want in kitchen? Everything that only they can choose has to go on the selection sheet. We get that all sorted out. Now, we do get paid for that. That's because it's valuable to clients because we offer fixed price. So, but to give you a fixed price, we need exactly the data that relates to your project. We can't just generalize. We don't do allowances. And yes, it takes some time, which is why we charge a fee for the quantity takeoff service, whereby we orchestrate and organize the contacts with our subs and our suppliers. That's how we get, was that just quoting in a nutshell? Kind of was. But yeah, selection sheets. That's what you do. I just need to give you the context, right? Sorry about that. Hope that helps. Thanks for hanging in with us, folks. How far are we in? Oh, we're an hour and 20. We're going to wrap up, dude.
Yeah, we got a couple.
This is the red line. Okay, let's go. Yep.
Doge or I don't know.
Doggy.
How to say that.
Doggy.
Okay.
With an E, not a Y.
Okay. Any tips on how to make sure my boss would sign off my builder's license, or is it all a gamble/trust?
Yeah, mate. Look, my story is, to your point, I started working with this guy, and I reckon I was 2 years in before I even got my apprenticeship. Because where I come from, we basically had to find a builder that was going to commit to us for 4 years to put us through 4 years worth of, apprenticeship essentially, which means we had to work for him for 4 years, and about 6 to 8 weeks per year we would go to college and do that time doing drafting and some practical and technical. And so, but it was like, yeah, Max, we'll get you the papers signed, blah, blah, blah. And it was literally 2 years. I was literally a second going on third year before I even got my papers signed. And then I had to catch up with all my college, and the guy didn't pay me to go and sit in school for 6 to 8 weeks. So lucky I was still living at home, bumming off the folks to get it done. So, mate, look, I don't know. Hopefully your boss is a good guy and he's an integrous individual. But there is an element of definitely what I would say risk. I wouldn't go calling it a gamble, but yeah, there's an element of blind trust that you've got to put in this guy. And unfortunately, you kind of might have to make a sacrifice to get what you want. You've got to give before you get. He's got all the leverage because he's obviously got a builder's license and you want one. So you're going to have to eat shit for a while to, play the game until such time as you can, get that license sorted, and then you can clear out, mate. So just be patient. It's not the end of the world. Hell, I'm 49 going on 50, and I'm like, oh, Lee, where did that time go? Shit just went so fast. So, mate, it will be just a drop in the bucket, a moment in time. I remember the pain I went through to get my builder's license, and it felt like the end of the world. But that was apparently the easiest thing I ever did, because running a building company was far more challenging than getting the credential. That's what I would say. Hang in there, champion.
James from TikTok.
James.
Have you guys gone over what good qualities it takes to be a good project manager?
Oh, look, I think it's pretty, if I Googled that shit, I could come up with some, 5 top, attributes of a project manager. I think, first of all, I would say this, you've got to be a good people's person. First and foremost, I think you've got to understand the concept of, harsh but fair. I think you've got to understand that there is no grey area. You've got to have a system that you abide by, because obviously you're subject to authority that's above you. But then there is some times where you might have to colour outside the lines a little bit, take a little bit of a risk, and in the long run, you'll achieve the outcome. But if you push that envelope too far, you will get yourself in shit. So I think you've got to be. And I'm telling you, project manager is the hardest thing. You've got pressure from clients. Maybe you don't deal directly with clients, but I know in the residential sector, if I was a superintendent or essentially a project manager, I've got pressure from clients, pressure from my boss, and pressure from subcontractors and suppliers. It's in a sandwich, it's really, if you're getting it wrong, it's miserable. If you get it right and you master the art of project management, I would actually think it's a pretty cool life. I might consider going back into it because I do love construction. If I had to go and do something else other than what I'm doing today, project management, because I've got a good head for organization. I'm pretty good with people. I can be, firm and courteous all at the same time. Roll out a bit of kind candor, tell the truth, and do it in such a way that it can be digested by the other party. I take full responsibility for any cock-ups on my watch, because I've got no choice if I do that. And I really recognize that it is my problem. I then own the rights to the solution. And I'm telling you, out of that cock-up or that failure, I will learn something and I'll be better for it. So I think you've got to have an above-the-line thought process. That will help you a lot. mate, there's another question there. I'm going to answer this one from Ethan real quick. He's like, hey, mate, I just got signed off in my carpentry. Would you recommend staying or becoming a sole trader? Look, Ethan, real easy one, mate. I would just hang around for a couple of years, develop your technique as a business owner, and then start looking over the fence and start eyeballing, you know, what you might want to do. And a sole trader is okay when you're small, but understand you want to control, you know, how much money that you take personally so you don't pay too much tax. Get some good accountancy advice. These are all the things that I would do as, you know, operating outside, but maybe working under that umbrella that you did your time with for a couple of years, unless you can't stomach it, and move on and just brace for impact, because it is quite a shock to the system when you start operating your own business as a newbie. All right, folks, peace out. See you next time. Thanks for hanging with us. I appreciate it.